Decision making is a non negotiable skill. Whether you are a leader leading teams, projects, organizations, or you are someone who's trying to build a life on their own terms around freedom and important core values, you may have to take decisions at quite frequency in your life. You may come across paths where decision making can feel really tough and overwhelming. Or you can be someone who's used to making decisions, but you want to strengthen your intuition, then this video is for you. I'm going to discuss 3 ways based on brain science, NLP, and yoga psychology. And that's the uniqueness that we offer through our programs at the Self Leadership Academy, so that with Eastern wisdom and neuroscience based tools, you get a well rounded holistic transformation in your life. Before we move ahead with the video, I'm going to make a very important announcement, which is the launch of the Neuro Edge program. So this is a very targeted program for founders, leaders, agency owners who really want to monetize their communication skills. Now, communication skills can be monetized in a couple of ways. You can use it as your core skill, where you use it for sales, you use it for giving information regarding something, where it becomes very important as a part of your personal branding, or you can use it in organizations, like in your meetings, like for your promotions. You need to be good at people skills. So if you are that kind of leader where you're good with your technical stuff, but you need that additional layer of good communication skills, and you want to make money out of that effectiveness and refinement, then Neuro Edge is for you. So we're not going to just talk about how to use your body language and how to use your tonality or how to learn English better. It's going to be about rewiring your brain to become a better communicator, to become more convincing, to become more presentable and charismatic, and also change your money beliefs around this, so that you are able to create wealth with your communication. I've done it for myself. I want to offer you the same. You'll find the details and the registration link in the description. So now, that being said, quite a mouthful, let's go to the main video. Now, when I say intuition, I don't mean something mystical that only spiritual people have in them. I mean your ability to make calculations faster and make a prediction based on that, and see how this decision that you are going to make affects your life at a long run, if it is a life decision, or your organization's trajectory in a long run, or your team's trajectory in the long run. See, if you're able to do that, then we can say that you are a good or a decent decision maker. And how to refine it is something that we are going to discuss in today's video. Now, people often, when we talk about decision making, there's always a head and a heart conversation, that should I listen to my logic more or should I listen to my intuition more? And people have different philosophies around it. But what I have observed while coaching people and coaching leaders is that when the decisions are the most optimal, when they are at their best, there is a handshake between your logic and your emotion. So they work together to take you in a particular direction, and then the action that you take is quite intense and it is quite focused. So what happens, it's not logic versus emotion, whereas you take some resources from your logic, you take some resources from your emotion, and there is a handshake between the two. So giving an example of this, when I wanted to, do something with my core skill of communication and my passion, I initially started with a pure emotional impulsive decision of putting on a video about how to have a memorable conversation. If I would have heard what my logic was saying to me, I would have never put on that video on social media, because my logic said you're not good enough, you are not special, and all of that. So I had a very self-critical voice. So I put that video because I wanted to, connect with more people, and it was purely emotional. So I put the video, and after that I didn't know how it was going to turn out, and it was going to open up the windows of becoming a soft skills trainer. And when I became a soft skills trainer, I got to know there's something known as life coaching about personality development, and that is so impactful. I didn't know all of this, but as I got in touch with coaching, it's not that right away I made the decision to make this my full-time career. For a very long time, it was not a full-time career decision. So I waited till a point where I saw some logical numbers showing up for me, and then only I decided to make it my full-time career. So there was a point where there was a clear handshake between my logic and my emotion. So whatever fears or whatever suggestions were coming up as challenges of this particular field, my coherence of logic and emotion also came up with a solution to cater to those challenges. So best decisions have the handshake between your logic and emotion, but as a starting point you may have to start with one. For example, I chose to listen to my emotion, but I took my logic together. So you may choose to listen to your logic, but maybe take your emotion together. So that could be your starting point, but the point of making the decision will come when there's a handshake. And when you make that decision at that point, you will see how focused, clear, and confident you are about your decision. Second thing is when you need to train your intuition so that your intuition knows that this was a correct calculation, this was an accurate calculation, and this wasn't an accurate calculation. Now, people who think that they have great intuition, they feel that they are always accurate, which is not true. What they do is that they observe, they make a prediction, and they only look at that part of the prediction which has come true and not at that part of the prediction which hasn't come true. And life always happens like this, with combination of things. So, we are very good at fooling our own selves, and we do that a lot, especially when we want to prove ourselves right, prove ourselves good, and we have all of these biases. We're not able to look at it objectively. So what steps we need to follow is that observe, predict, and then validate. And let that validation be accurate. Even if people feel like you are confused or you are unsure, it's okay to be unsure and confused till you really come to a point where you are feeling confident about certain things. And this happens, in coaching sessions as well. Unless and until I feel that I have really reached the root cause of this person's problem, I will question that person in various different ways. Now, the person may think that this coach is taking a very long time to, tell me what to do and what not to do and all of that. But that's not really my job. My job is to find out that root cause, change how you see it, if that is a good change for you, change your thinking ways around it, and help you solve that problem. And for that, I know I need to use the system to observe, to predict, and then to validate. Now, when you don't do this objectively and by yourself, other people or other people's perceptions and observations will mix into it. So when you are doing this validation, it's very important to sit with someone or sit with yourself who can be neutral and objective about it. So when you're highly emotional about your success, you may not want to do it because that time you're only looking at positive stuff. If you're feeling highly negative about your failure, you may not want to do it because that is the time when you will only look at what went wrong. So you want to look at it from a very objective perspective, and coaching helps you there specifically to help you look at it from a very, very neutral standpoint. Now, third is that before you go ahead and say that my intuition is really good, or you've started to do some spiritual practices, or you have started to go very deep. Why am I talking about spirituality in a video which is focused on leadership? Because a lot of leaders, especially who are a part of Self Leadership Academy or you follow us, they're also spiritually inclined. I am spiritually inclined, and there are so many, there are methods, there are methodologies where we talk about energy, where we talk about, let's say, chakras of yoga, and so many different things. But if you do not have a strong foundation of your logic developed properly, it is very easy to sway you down and to take you into some kind of hallucination. That's when I said that people, especially who are more right brain dominant and think that their intuition is 100% accurate, really need to validate after they have made the prediction, so that they don't end up in a very negative or a very positive hallucination all the time. You need to come as close to reality as possible. So the third thing is to actually develop that logic to come to reality as close as possible, and then only follow these paths of whether it is based on energies, it is based on all sorts of things that are available in the market, so that nobody is able to actually fool you. And people often say that when you are too logical or you're too analytical, you're not able to learn a lot of things. That's not true. We have examples in the history of spiritual leaders like J. Krishnamurti, who said that I am not your guru. Don't consider me as your guru. I am merely a person who's like you. And he had compassion, he had love, and he had amazing critical thinking and logic. Swami Vivekananda had amazing critical thinking and logic. So never say that, because I am so spiritual, I will not use my logic. That is not a really very valid argument to have. Yes, there are limitations of logic that, let's say, I'm teaching you something, okay, in the classroom, I'm teaching you NLP. And there are some people who will start to say that, oh, this is just like that methodology, this is just like healing, this is just like that, this is just like that. So people who have a very active, logical or left brain oriented, they're very quick to connect the dots. They're very quick to sometimes, judge certain things. And that is why they don't let that learning really happen. All the learning is at intellectual level, is at a very surface level, and it goes away from there. So we have to understand the use of logic and also the limitations of logic at the same time. So I always say that if you want to have a reflection, first sit like a clean slate, that you are gathering new information. I know this sounds like next to impossible, but as much as possible we can do that. And after you've done it, let that process of connecting dots happen later on. So we are going to talk a lot about learning new things, and based on brain science, how do you really do that? And that is all going to happen on this channel. So if you want, you can subscribe to our channel and find it really helpful to develop your life skills and your leadership skills. Now, very important thing which I absolutely missed to tell you when I was talking about the left brain and the right brain handshake is that both these parts or hemispheres, to be very specific, of our brain. And when I talk to some of the neuroscientists or neurosurgeons to actually understand that if there are really something like this physically and all. So I've spoken to doctors before I use this left and right terms, because I was like, brain mein aisa hota hai kya really? So they told ki aise aise kaam karta hai. So I'll not get into that. It's great that if a neuroscience specialist talks about that thing, but I have validated it with the people and experts who are in this field. And this processing happens in a very different way. So your left brain, what it does, it chunks down the information. So in NLP, we call it chunking down. So what happens is that it breaks something down into pieces, and that is what analysis means, and then processes it. Your right brain looks like, from a third person's perspective. So how it processes information is called chunking up the big picture. So that is why, some people are called as the big picture person. Some people have the personality of being really detail oriented, and some of us are really lucky to have a balanced brain, and they're able to do both of that. And if you're not able to do, you can always learn these skills. So if you feel that you don't have a certain skill and you want to learn it, you'll go to the description and book a call with me, and we'll be helping you to undergo that learning curve. A lot of people, they don't undergo the learning curve thinking that I can never do this. They don't know what are the best things that they can do and what is naturally good in their personality. So if you've jumbled it all up in your mind, and if you want to get sorted, you can book the call, we'll get in touch and we'll do it for you. So bye-bye, see you in the next video.